Hello, I'm Miss Complexities, and I'm the host of Complexities Podcast, where we talk about trauma and healing from trauma. It's my personal story, which involves my partner in all things. God, I'm so bad at this intro. I'm gonna write one. I'm gonna write it because I can't do off the cuff. But this is what we're talking about. Oh yeah, oh yeah, it's backwards. Something I didn't talk about in the podcast. I did say that I've been an alcoholic, that I was an alcoholic, and that I'm sober. But I never touched on the subject whilst doing the podcast because I just didn't really know how to talk about it or what to say. Yeah, so with all my videos that I do, it just kind of spur of the moment. It feels right. And worked out because 3 is my lucky number. I was thinking about where I wanted this to go, where I wanted this video to go, and I had a very interesting synchronicity show up, and that was that the very first time I ever drank was New Year's Eve when I was 17, and then the very last time that I ever drank was also New Year's Eve, but it was this New Year's Eve, so this New Year's will be 1 year of sobriety. And then last year, in 2017, I think I had 2 glasses of wine. So, I mean, I've been not drinking for a long time. Um, and I guess I haven't really talked about it in the podcast because it's been not a part of my life for so long that it didn't seem like a big deal anymore. But now that I'm coming up on the 1 year of actually being sober, not having a single drink, it's pretty big, and realizing how I got here. So how did I get here? Like I said, I had my very first drink when I was 17 at a New Year's party, and I was still living with my abuser at the time. It was like a couple of weeks before I quote unquote ran away at 17 to get away from my abusive father. And instantly drinking, it was just like this breath of relaxation that I hadn't felt in so long because I was living with a sociopath, and I was constantly in fight or flight mode, and I was still being abused. And so for 17 and 18, I was constantly looking for ways to drink, but it was kind of hard to do because I was underage. And then when I was 19, I got a job at a bar, and it was much easier to drink. So I spent all of my 19th year completely just intoxicated. It got to the point where I couldn't function without drinking. I was drunk every day. That's what I needed to survive. And by the time I turned 21, I had gotten alcohol poisoning twice. And I guess I don't have that, something happens sometimes when I drink where I can't stop myself. And I just keep going, and I keep going until I can't stand anymore, which is a lot. So, yeah, the last time I got alcohol poisoning was a real wake-up call, and it was only about a month into Patty Face and I dating. And after that, I was sober for about 18 months. And then I went back to drinking, but I had more control over it because by then I was getting married and I was having a family, and I made sure that, I didn't put myself in situations where I could get copious amounts of alcohol and get alcohol poisoning again. So I kind of went from drinking all the time to, managing my alcoholism in a way that wouldn't affect my family, which was, not having alcohol at the house, or when I would go out and drink, it would be in very particular circumstances, and I always safeguarded myself. But I still desired drinking for a long time because it was a coping mechanism. And so the amazing thing that happened about 3 years ago, which was after I'd been diagnosed with PTSD and I was trying to deal with all of that, was before I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. I realized that I had been doing so much work on my trauma, my childhood trauma, that I didn't really want to drink that much anymore. And so for the last 3 years, I haven't really had the desire to drink. Um, there was 2 Thanksgivings ago, I got really, really drunk at a friend's party, and I couldn't stop myself, and I did end up on the floor afterwards. And and that was kind of like, wow, look, you're still an alcoholic. You can't safeguard yourself all the time. And so that's when I decided I wasn't going to drink anymore. And after that year, going into 2017, I did have 2 glasses of wine, one at my son's birthday and one at my birthday. And then this year, I've just decided after New Year's, I don't know why I used to drink. Like I don't need that anymore. And that's how I beat alcoholism. I genuinely no longer require drinking. Like I have no desire to drink. I like even just thinking about drinking kind of turns my stomach because I can remember like being sick all the time and like puking, and I don't know, for some reason thinking about drinking now just brings back the taste of the last time I had alcohol poisoning, which was a very long time ago, but it's still there. So what did I do? I I went to the root of the problem, and I did this inadvertently. I didn't set out in therapy to cure my alcoholism. I was managing it pretty well to the point where I just didn't have drinks around. I didn't have alcohol around, and I didn't go out and find it. So I was able to do that. Um, Aside from that one party at my friend's house for Thanksgiving. Um, but yeah, so I I just did so much therapy. I did so much healing. Um, and I went to the core of my issues, which was the core of my trauma. I healed so much of the trauma from my childhood. I reprogrammed my brain to not be living in fight or flight, to not be abusing myself. And I've gotten to the point where I love myself so much that I don't need to fill my emptiness with alcohol anymore. I don't need to fill myself with alcohol because I fill myself with, love, affection, joy, happiness, um, all the good things in my life. And I don't know, it was really interesting because, like I said, I didn't set out to cure my alcoholism. I set out to not hate my life and not be broken by trauma and broken by complex PTSD. So it was just kind of like a happy accident. Like I did so much work healing my trauma, which I talk about in the podcast. And this is a plug. You can go listen. Season 1 is up. There's like 20 episodes where I talk about all the fucking therapy that I've done. And it's not just about my life. I use a really great book by somebody else whose claims, a psychiatrist, psychologist, who claims that they've also healed from complex PTSD. I don't know if I'm on his level yet. I still have, symptoms, but byproduct of healing my complex PTSD was healing my alcoholism. And I genuinely have no desire to drink. I think it's kind of crazy. It's such a weird synchronicity. My very first drink happened on New Year's. What was that? 14 years ago, and now here we are. This New Year's will be 1 year without a drink, and yeah, it was a great 13 years of alcoholism, and it's done. I'm over it, and I'm never gonna drink again because I don't need to. And yeah, so if you guys want to hear more about this, feel free to send me some questions at Complexities Podcast on IG. We have a Facebook. You can find us on SoundCloud, and I can talk more about it. Thanks.